The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
Welcome back. I am here with Linden King, 13-year NFL veteran. He did 9 years with the San Diego Superchargers and 4 years with the LA Raiders. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. You make it sound like it was a prison sentence. He did 9 years with San Diego, and then he went up to
the
LA.
way y'all hit each other, man, it may have just well been.
Yeah, well, you know.
We're going to get into this first question.
Yep.
How many NFL players are in Las Vegas?
We've
Alumni?
got, according to our statistics, we have between 40 and 50, but we've actually been able to contact between 30 and 35. And you know, we're just starting our meetings now, trying to get them all on the same page with us at the same time has been problematic at times. Yeah, there's around 40 players here.
Wow, that's a good gathering of players.
And a lot of talent. You know, Cunningham and just, I mean, there's a lot of talented players that came out of Las Vegas.
Little side information on myself. I'm from Philadelphia, so when you say Randall Cunningham, you know, he's a god to us, man.
Yes, absolutely.
And what's the primary purpose and goals of the Alumni Association?
The Alumni Association was started by a handful of players in 1967 to help out players that weren't stars and didn't last long, but were suffering from orthopedic issues from the game, you know. So they started trying to help out, and it graduated to helping kids, which is what our primary goal is now. We care for our own, but primarily helping kids, you know, with all the, there's so much social upheaval now that's targeted right at our kids. We feel that because we have a bully pulpit, if you will, because kids listen to athletes, they listen to actors, they listen to musicians, and they don't listen to their parents or their teachers. So we have a responsibility to try to bridge that gap.
And first and foremost, football is about family and looking after one another. This whole thing started because one guy, two guys, three guys, a bunch of guys said, hey, some of our guys are hurting. Let's get involved and let's get out there and let's help them so they get it back on their feet and be able to take care of themselves. Yeah, and if they can't, we'll carry them till they can.
Exactly, because you have to remember now, I was drafted in 1977. I was a third-round draft choice. And I was making $25,000. Now, if you do the math on that, it comes out to like $70 a day to play in the NFL. So one of the obstacles we have to overcome is people thinking that, well, if you're from the NFL, regardless of the era, you're rich. And that's not true. I mean, if you're making $70 a day, it's hard to save for the future or invest. Family. So those are the guys that we have to reach out and take care of.
That makes sense, and y'all do a great job of looking after each other. And our next question, how close do you work with the NFL?
The NFL is actually the financial entity behind the NFL. Alumni. They fund the national office, who sends out directive to us. But we're trying to actually enhance that, if you will. We've been around since '67 and nothing's really changed. So it's time to, we've got new leadership now. We're trying to get proactive. We're trying to get involved with big corporations. So we're in a growth phase as well.
All right, constant evolving.
Always,
that's what you got to do.
That's what you have to do. When you stop learning, you stop living.
What types of community service are y'all getting ready to be involved in?
Well, we just a couple of days ago, we were at a Court Academy. We've partnered with Caesars Entertainment, and we're trying to put together a group of athletes around the nation, not just in the NFL, but NBA and NHL, because we can touch all the cities with a common message for these kids. We're trying to establish a communicate with either Colin Powell or Michelle Obama because they have in place already character-driven associations that we want to be part of, and we want to teach our people how to use what they want to do and take it out into the schools. So,
can't ask for more than that.
well, it's a responsibility. That's what is more than I got into this. You know, I know you're going to ask me later on, and I'm going to tell you how we got into this. Why did I want to get involved with this?
Right.
When the first week that I was here was the week of the Mandalay Bay shooting.
Wow.
And I saw the way this city turned out. Coming from LA, I was so impressed that I just stayed here, because if the same thing had happened in LA, the city would eat itself. It's just a whole different mindset there. And it made me start thinking about what I can do. I did something a long time ago. I'm an old guy, okay, fine. But I still have a message. And I remember the United States when it was, you know, mom, dad, apple pie, and everything was cool. And that's been taken away from our kids, and it's our responsibility to try to give it back. Because if we don't, I don't feel we're going to be the country that we have, and we're, in the world stage, we're going to fall behind. We're already way behind in education. So it's time, you know, to step up. I'm 63 years old. I'm going to live probably another 7 or 8 years, and I'm going to do as much as I can while I'm here to help the kids, so they have the same opportunities that I did.
Y'all not, excuse me, you're all not sitting where I'm sitting. He's 63 years old, and he's built like he's 28 years old. The dude is a powerhouse. No fat on him whatsoever. I've been having donuts for dinner, but this kid is packed for 63-year-old. You are a truly inspirational young man.
That's because almost all my joints are all metal now. I feel like Steve Austin now. But, you know.
That's the bionic man to everybody
right.
under 30.
That's right. You don't remember that? There you go.
Now, speaking of going back in time,
Okay.
1980, I was a very good child. I asked my father, Dad, may I have an electric football set? The Eagles were playing the Raiders. He said, sure. Christmas came, Christmas went, and my father never bought me that electric football set.
That little one with the just vibrated and they went on.
The greatest thing ever.
It was cool. I had one.
But the next year, he got me the 49ers and the Bengals, and I was locked onto that for years.
Gotcha.
Now, what y'all don't know is instead of Cincinnati Bengals, this gentleman was in a 1981 classic, a winter classic that took place in Cincinnati. And I have to ask you, what was it?
60 below zero. With
60 below zero. Human beings shouldn't be out in that kind of weather.
And let's set it up. The week before, we played in Miami. It's one of the top 3 games ever played, according to ESPN. Double overtime, 98 degrees.
Was that the lateral?
Yes.
Oh, I love that game. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so the lateral. You mean at the end of the first half? When Howard Cosell said, oh, Linden King obviously got beat bad on that play, when in fact I had dropped back and was watching, and I saw it happen, and I think we're going to get beat on this, so I took off to try to help.
Right.
I'm not going to help nobody no more.
Ever. Never again.
Never help. Because everybody was saying, man, what happened in that place? It wasn't me, man. It wasn't my man. And it took Willie Buchanan 25 years to admit it.
Are you kidding me?
I swear to God, we were in Hawaii, and he finally came and goes, yeah, you're right, man. Because I kept telling him, man, you're hanging me out to dry.
Some people like to hold on to things. I'm the same way with the electric football set.
Yeah.
I still won't ever let that go, Papa. I was going to ask you, another memory from that game? 1981 classic, 60 below zero.
Well, I think for me personally, I think that whenever there's a game with that much gravity attached to it that's going to put you in a Super Bowl or a championship, it should be played in an environment where you can actually utilize your skills. Now, I get it. You know, we all have to play in the same elements, but if you're used to practicing in zero weather, it's okay, but if you come from 90 degrees SoCal, it's not the same. And so the first pass that Dan Fouts tried to throw that game, it just fluttered away like a kite.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, we're in trouble. And they had big Pete Johnson, and they just gave him the ball, he'd fall forward for 3, you know. And so that coming away from it. But the thing that always comes to mind when I remember that game is we were so cold, we would sit on the bench with our feet in this big, you know, they're heated.
Right.
And Leroy Jones always sat next to me so we could communicate. We had where we had a sit. And his feet were like this long.
Oh,
so he would stand up and stick his toes in there. And so it's a turnover, we're running down the field, I'm behind Leroy, and his feet are starting to smoke. Because we had those Adidas that had the plastic bottoms on it, and he had stuck it in there, and it started to melt. And so he gets like halfway out on the field, and all of a sudden he starts doing this little dance, and his shoes are taped on. He can't get them off, so they ran him over and made him stand in the snowbank.
That's the kind of stuff you never get on the sideline, some sideline reporting nowadays, man.
It was pretty funny. And so he got back. He had frostbite on his hands, and his feet were burnt. He had blisters on his feet.
Stop.
No, so go figure. Extremes. You know?
Man, I knew that game, man. And had they, I think y'all beat the 49ers if your team goes.
I think you're right, and it would have been probably one of the greatest games ever because the following, in the Super Bowl would have been Joe Montana, the first year they went against Dan Fouts, who was, Coryell's offense was the father of all this stuff.
Eric Coryell, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
Man, and you were a puppy. How old do you?
I was 20. Well, in '81, I was 22.
Oh yes, you were a puppy.
Yeah.
You were a puppy in that game. You must have been living the dream outside of the -6 degrees.
Well, the thing that was tough for playing with the Chargers is like, could you guys run the ball once or twice? Because you go on, touchdown, we're back in. So they go in 1-2 plays, score, and we'd have 10, 12 play drive if we could stop them. We didn't have a very good defense. Nothing's free in life, and in order to get all those weapons they had on offense, they traded away Fred Dean and the likes of those players, and so we were just trying to hang on most of the time, Just it was fun.
Man. Now, last question. How did you get involved, and what made you want to be president?
I didn't go to the meeting wanting to be president.
Right.
We all stood up and said what we would do, why we would like to be involved, and like I said, it was right after the Mandalay Bay thing, and I really have a soft spot for kids, and this avenue, the NFL, is a perfect way to get through to a lot of kids, and so we're working, like I said, with Caesars and United Way, and a lot. We're putting together a system that we can use across the country with all the teams.
Very inspirational, my man. Now, going back to the Mandalay Bay, I was sleeping when it happened, and my sister calls, and my sister's very overprotective of me since birth. My father brings me home, tells my sister, if something happens to him, something's going to happen to you, Lydia.
I remember.
So she's been overprotective, and she calls me up. You all right? You okay? I'm like, yes, until you woke me up. And then she explained everything what was going on in my city.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I was watching the news here, and it's all going on, and they have the news camera, and all the people were coming out,
right?
And the police were escorting them, telling them, come on. And there was these two young guys, and they were Marines, and they were going against the flow, going back. Everybody's coming out, they're going in, and they stopped with the cop goes behind one of the walls, and they said, give us your gun, we're going in. And he said, sir, I can't give you my gun, but I'm just thinking, I love this mentality here.
Right.
It's still the Wild Wild West. If something's wrong, you go fix it.
That's how
I like that.
Some people just have that in them. Mm-hmm. I wish I could be one of those people, but you know who you are out there, and we thank you very much for your service and your bravery.
Yes, we do.
And that's one of the reasons we say at the end of every show, stay safe. That's where it stems from. Yeah. Look out for each other. That's what it means. We say stay safe, but it means be careful, be aware of where you are, and look out for others who can't look out for themselves.
Right, and in my life, the NFL is just like that. It's your teammates for life. You take care of each other. And before that, my father was a career military officer, so I had that instilled in me from day one. He was a commander on the base, and he took care of his guys, and that's the way we learn.
And you're continuing with this organization.
That's right.
And taking care of our kids. Hey.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much for being on our show and spending time.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Linden King, great man, great football player. We'll be right back with Mr. Marlon Greenwood. And as always, stay safe. And if you see me on the street, throw me a pass. I might be open.